AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
Hour 2. Off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. LSU will welcome Clemson in, like 8 months from now. But still great time to talk about it. Clemson wrapped up spring football, and, of course, with LSU and Clemson set to meet in Tiger Stadium this year to open the season. It'll be interesting seeing how Dabo's squad handles the offseason. It's a pivotal one with a lot of turnover. Jon Blau was good enough to join us as we previewed this past year's season opener. He's good enough to hang out with us here as Clemson has ended spring practice. Hey, John, thanks for the time, man. How are you?
Good. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing really well, man. We appreciate the time. Okay, so coming out of spring, what's the general temperature there in Clemson around the program?
I mean, I think every spring ball or every program feels like they're good or going to be better or whatever. But, yeah, a lot of questions with Clemson, obviously coming off of that 7-6 season, and some questions in some really important positions, quarterback being, the number one issue at hand still. Christopher Vezina, who's had limited playing time, was good against SMU, but that was the worst pass defense in college football. In kind of mop-up duty, not great. He's still now in the pole position to be the quarterback. But there's a freshman, Tate Reynolds, who Dabo Swinney says is among the two-man race now to be the starting quarterback. So the focus all on those guys, that kind of offers some clarity. I think fans are excited about that. But still a lot of question marks across the board, especially in the trenches. They just have so much turnover from those positions coming from last year into this next season.
What do we know about Chris Vezina, assuming he does end up winning the starting job at quarterback?
Hey, we don't know a whole lot. That's the thing. Obviously, an Elite 11 guy as a recruit, definitely a guy that Clemson had high hopes for, still has high hopes for. They didn't even take a quarterback in the cycle after Vezina in 2024 and just said, hey, we're basically redshirting you. Obviously going to sit behind, Cade Klubnik for 3 years, and you're going to be the guy, Cade leaves. And just, again, this hasn't been that dynamic in the time that he's had. Obviously, a lot of it's in mop-up duty against backups, and a guy that seems to have a decent arm. Obviously, he was an Elite 11 guy. Dabo has told us, and we've seen some evidence of it, that he's probably a better runner than people think. 6'4", 215. But again, we haven't seen consistently, in big time moments. Obviously, again, going to a place like a LSU to start a season. Is he going to be able to make the throws, be decisive, all of that? We haven't seen that enough yet. So it's just a lot of questions. And obviously, for the Clemson fan base, a lot of anxieties just because quarterback with DJ Uiagalelei and Tate Klubnik, just a lot of ups and downs over the last, 4 or 5 years since Trevor Lawrence left Clemson.
John, it's interesting. I remember last year before the season, looking at the preseason ACC All-Conference team, and 11 of the 22 first-teamers were Clemson players, like half of the preseason All-Conference team. So a lot of those guys are gone. Where or what position group took the biggest hit due to the departures?
Yeah, that's another interesting question because, you would think maybe defensive line because Peter Woods and TJ Parker are guys that people are talking about as potential first-round picks, somewhat polarizing, again, in terms of their production. But they've replaced with some guys. Marcus Strong, from Oklahoma came over. They brought in a few others. They seem to have solidified that depth, but I think offensive line might be the biggest. Obviously, Blake Miller at right tackle was a stalwart for 4 years. He's a potential first-round pick. He's gone, so what are you doing there? Their left tackle, Tristan Lee, was a multi-year starter as well. At center, they had a multi-year starter, and now it's just a bunch of new guys. And they're very excited about Braden Jacobs, who's the son of Brandon Jacobs, the running back for the New York Giants. His son is bigger than him. He's like 6'8" and 350 pounds. At left tackle, he's a monster. But he hasn't played a full season yet. He got hurt towards the end of last year, his true freshman season. Easton Ware is the guy they're talking about at right tackle. He's the guy who redshirted all of last year with an injury. You talk about Harris Sewell, who was a guard. They're moving him into center. And he's a guy who's had some ups and downs in his career, was a top 100 prospect coming out of high school, but again, ups and downs. And so, just a lot of moving pieces and haven't really seen it come together yet. There's a lot of potential there. Everybody's been really excited about Matt Luke and some of the recruiting he's done there. Definitely maybe more athletic, maybe stronger potentially, but we just haven't seen it. So offensive line, I think, is the one position that we're still trying to figure out kind of where Clemson stands.
Forgot about Matt Luke, the former Ole Miss head coach who's now there at Clemson. Is any other notable staff changes there at Clemson?
Yeah, so obviously offensive coordinator, not sure if we talked about that yet, but obviously Chad Morris coming back to be the guy. He was from 2011 to 2014, the guy who really kind of built that offense that ended up winning some national championships, a little bit of a out-of-the-box hire, obviously, by Dabo, bringing a guy who actually hadn't been a coordinator in a handful of years since Auburn in 2020. And so kind of redoing that again. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Clemson had a ton of coverage busts last year. And so they no longer have their safeties coach, Mickey Kahn. He went to Samford as a defensive coordinator. And now Tom Allen's son, Thomas, is kind of the pass game coordinator. And so they're hoping to shore that up. They shored that up through the transfer portal with a couple of guys at safety. They feel better about all of that, but that's going to be something to watch as well in terms of how those new defensive coaches kind of get that unit executing at a higher level. Last year, it really did not execute the level that Clemson would like, for sure.
Jon Blau is with us at Jon_Blau, JON_BLAU, Post and Courier, covers Clemson if you want to give him a follow. Good follow, obviously, with the LSU opening with Clemson again this year. I'm a little surprised, John, that we're focusing so much on the offensive side of the ball, but I guess it's where we'll keep going. What about playmakers? Any playmakers emerge here in this spring?
Yeah, Chris Johnson Jr., and I always have to emphasize with people, he is not CJ2K's son, because they're both running backs, and they're both really fast. But, Clemson got Chris Johnson Jr. from SMU, one of the fastest players in his position in college football. He's been an interesting guy to kind of monitor. I guess, obviously, spring ball's done for Clemson now, but a guy that they're really excited about just because of his breakaway ability. He was a little slight coming in at about 6 foot, 184, but he's put on a few pounds. He's kind of toughened himself up to maybe be a guy you can use a little bit more, maybe not even just at running back, but also in the slot. There's been a lot of conversation about moving him around, so he's going to be an interesting piece for Morris to use, trying to get around the edge of defenses. And just a bunch of freshman receivers that actually had to play a lot of snaps this camp because TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco, both injured, limited in camp. And so they have a very highly rated group of receivers coming in. Naheem Burrows from Florida. But Gordon Sellers is actually a receiver from the Charlotte area. He's about 6'3", 180, really kind of lanky, rangy. Had a really great touchdown catch in the spring game, basically one-handed back shoulder ball. He's made a lot of plays this spring, and there's been a lot of talk about him. But obviously, again, a lot of the conversation about quarterbacks, and then again, Tate Reynolds, the mid-year enrollee, actually a guy who might play baseball at Clemson at some point too. he really obviously has impressed people with his arm strength, his dual threat ability to be able to make plays with his legs. And so a few names there that have kind of, been talked about a lot this spring.
John, the Luke Farrelly situation is the one that garnered all the headlines for obvious reasons with Ole Miss and everything. But are there any portal additions that are notable for this year?
Oh yeah, a ton. And most of those are on the defensive side of the ball. As we were talking about, a huge number of busts in the secondary last year, and so lost a couple of safeties to the transfer portal. Cleo Barnes went to Georgia. Ricardo Jones went to Vandy. They brought in Jerome Carter from Old Dominion and Corey Myrick from Southern Miss. Obviously lower level guys, but very productive players. I think they have something like 180 tackles combined and maybe 8 or 9 interceptions between them last year. And so those are two guys that they've talked really highly of during camp, just in the place they need to be. Very confident, very mature players, kind of solidifying that back end. And maybe the star of spring ball, according to Dabo Swinney, was Elliott Washington, a corner from Penn State. And so he actually played for Tom Allen at Penn State in 2024. Elliott Washington is a guy who allegedly can run like a 4.3 40. It's just a really fast guy, really confident guy that adds to their corner room. And so they feel much better about the secondary because of what they got in the transfer portal there. Obviously, a linebacker, like you said, Luke Farrelly, didn't come through. There's maybe some questions there because that kind of blew a hole in their plan. But I feel like in all the other spots, they feel pretty good. They added about 8 guys defensively in the transfer portal. So they feel they've got a little bit more depth this year than they did last year.
John, one more, if I could, and it's sort of the big picture question you've probably answered a million times in every conversation you have, and it's about just Dabo and the program. And I mean, who knew that we were watching a couple of 7-6 teams last year on Labor Day weekend with LSU and Clemson? Certainly didn't feel like it at the time. But where is the fan base, and maybe even more importantly, the administration on Dabo and where they are in the program right now?
Yeah, I mean, it was during the season. I remember that, Dabo, during a press conference, I forget which one it was, maybe post Syracuse or post another game, around that time was saying, hey, Graham Neff, noticed you here in this press conference. It's not often that the AD actually comes to the post-game press conferences and says, hey, Graham might fire me, today or tomorrow. And it obviously makes this kind of dark-humored joke, but it didn't seem like completely implausible. It was, again, a little weird that the AD was in the room. It never happens. And, Dabo was talking again about, a season that had gone completely off the rails, ends up being 7-6, like we're talking about. And so, yeah, I think there's definitely, if last year was maybe kind of going to be the season that was going to, vindicate Dabo for his not using the portal that much and kind of, homegrown talent and all that, that did not happen. So now you have to, if you're Dabo, again, it's another prove-it season that 7-6 season was an aberration. And then we did the things we needed to do, especially going to the transfer portal now to get, more guys to be more competitive. So I think there's a little bit of grace, again, because of the turnover or the change of quarterback and kind of how that's going to turn out. Maybe it's not burning all down if it's 8-4, but it's got to be better than 7-6. I think you have to be somewhere around 8-4, 9-3, something like that next year to show progress. Or the fan base is going to continue to get more and more worried about the kind of the trajectory of this program. There'll be even more, heat on that seat, I guess you could say, for Dabo Swinney.
Jon Blau from the Post and Courier covering Clemson at Jon_Blau if you want to give him a follow. John, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for the time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Matt.
Yep, it's our pleasure. We're brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. If you ever look at a diamond and you wonder what makes a diamond, like what makes someone say, wow, that is beautiful. Like all Lee Michaels diamonds sparkle like no other. You're going to see them from across the room. That's because every diamond is hand inspected by a family member before it goes in the case. Every diamond comes from the finest diamond mines in the world. And Lee Michaels can buy at better prices because they've been buying diamonds out of India for 9 stores at a higher volume, so they get better prices. And no matter what your budget, no matter what you're going in to spend, you're always going to get the Lee Michaels experience. They are approachable. They are affordable at any price point. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Hey, if you want to go in there and try on 1,000 different rings, be their guest at Lee Michaels. They never want you to feel pressured. They want you to understand what you're buying and have an enjoyable experience because it is a big deal. It's a diamond that is going to be in your family, hopefully for generations and passed down. That should be a memorable experience. And Lee Michaels specializes in the Lee Michaels experience. LMFJ.com. Thrill her with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. LMFJ.com. All right, let us after further review. LSU was on the practice field Tuesday. Afterwards, Lane Kiffin met with reporters, and he did provide an update on Sam Leavitt, but I think maybe even more importantly than the update on Sam Leavitt, which I will talk about, is his feeling on how and why the defense right now is ahead of the offense and what that may mean for the rest of spring and actually into the fall. I'll explain what I mean when we come back. Glad you're with us here. It's AFR.
AFR.
If you're thinking about selling your home, call Darren James and get your home sold. And understand that when you call Darren James, this is like calling the Ritz-Carlton of realtors. You know, if you've ever or never stayed at a Ritz-Carlton, even if you haven't, if you've ever read about a Ritz-Carlton, the thing that they specialize in is the experience from the moment you walk in the door, how the doormen greet you, how the front desk operators greet you, how every staff member greets you and addresses you and approaches you, how any potential disturbance in your stay is addressed. It's all about the experience. Well, Darren James has mastered that in real estate. Darren and his team are outstanding. They make sure you not only get results, but what is commonly voted by people as one of the most stressful experiences in life, moving, he makes it an enjoyable experience. So if you need to sell your home, call Darren James.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
She's even kind of crazy about my farmer's tan. She's the only one who really understands what gets me. She thinks my tractor's sexy.
All right, glad you're rolling along with us here. Tigers were on the practice field Tuesday. After practice, Lane Kiffin met with reporters. Obviously, the biggest storyline right now is about Sam Leavitt. And I don't think I need to explain this, but, I mean, he's your starting quarterback. He's the guy you went in the portal. You got Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. Yes, there's Landon Clark and Huson Longstreet, and you're excited about what those guys can be. Maybe Landon Clark is the new Trinidad Chambliss. Or maybe there's a reason he was playing at Elon. And maybe Huson Longstreet lives up to the 5-star billing. And maybe he's the next 5-star who ends up going down in classification and whatever. I don't know. But you identified Sam Leavitt. You paid him a whole bunch of money to come here and hopefully lead your team back to the college football playoff where he already led Arizona State a couple of seasons ago. Leavitt was not at practice on Tuesday. We know that Leavitt posted on his social media about having the pins removed from his foot from the original surgery for the Lisfranc injury. Here was Lane Kiffin giving the update on Sam Leavitt.
None of these are surprise. You know, this is the timeline we expected and had the screw removed yesterday and everything went well. It was something that going into it we were going to know that it was going to be unfortunate. He was going to miss spring a lot of it, but that was going to allow the other guys opportunities. And just feel nowadays, you know, it's a little easier to play quarterback than it used to be years ago as far as how long you've been there. And look at the previous place we were at. The guy didn't get there till the summer. So, you know, kind of that went into the decision where I feel like years ago you've been really concerned that the quarterback's going to miss your spring. He's done a great job mentally in the meetings and walkthroughs and able to throw some individual before this procedure.
I do absolutely agree with one part of that. It's having Leavitt taking mental reps. Remember, it's something we learned a lot about with the VR room with Jaden Daniels in his Heisman year. Sam Leavitt can do all that. So he can get all the mental reps. He can put on the VR goggles. He can go sit there and see and visualize and experience all of that. I am also not going to minimize the importance of getting reps in this offense. By Lane Kiffin's own admission, the quarterback is like the point guard in this offense. It is imperative because you go so fast in this offense, the quarterback has to be the maestro dictating all of that. Yes, I want the quarterback getting reps. I'm not only running this offense, but also timing and rapport with the receivers. That's now not going to happen. Kiffin was asked, there was asked about if he'd be available for the rest of spring. Here you go.
Since he's had this little cleanup procedure, does that mean he's going to be out for the rest of the spring, or is there a potential return by the end of the spring?
Yeah, I don't think he will. He's on crutches now, but maybe.
Okay, so crutches, not likely to participate the rest of the spring, and they knew this. It was something we all talked about and were told when they first added Leavitt. They were not actually certain when they signed him, and I disclosed this at the time, and I'll reiterate it now. This is something we talked about then. They were not certain when they signed him that he would be able to participate at all in spring. Optimistically, they thought he might do some throwing, some 7-on-7, but they didn't know if he'd be able to do anything. So the fact that he was already able to participate in some throwing and actually do some on-field work for a couple of weeks is probably a little bit better than they thought was the worst-case scenario when they signed Sam Leavitt. So get him healthy. Obviously, the ambition is have him 100% go for the start of fall camp. He'll go through workouts this summer in May and June, and then at the end of July into August, he's ready for the start of fall camp. Now, that brings us to the reality of where LSU is today. So there's 7 practices in to spring. And on Saturday, there was no media availability, but they went into Tiger Stadium and scrimmaged. Lane Kiffin was asked a question about the offensive line. And I've told you this about Kiffin. I told you he's very thoughtful. And I don't mean thoughtful like as in considerate of others. I mean, he thinks a lot about his responses. He doesn't just talk. There is intentionality behind the things he says. That, as someone who you could say I'm a professional press conference goer because I've gone to a million of these in my life in the last 25 years, you learn how coaches communicate to and through the media. Lane Kiffin always has something a message he is trying to get out no matter what your question is. So remember, the question was about the offensive line. This is a 27-second answer, and probably 21 of the 27 seconds have nothing to do with the offensive line. Play it.
Yeah, obviously a lot of new pieces there. I really like how well they've worked with the coaches. I'm excited about how they're coming along. There's a lot of work to do. If we were to play right now, which we're not, we'd be a defensive football team. That's what Saturday was obvious. Now, obviously that system's been in place. A lot of those players return comparable to the offense, but we're always going to look different every year based off of our players. We're never going to say this is just what we do. And so we may put together teams that win in different styles, and we've done that before.
The question was about the offensive line. Yeah, they're good. We're a defensive team, and it should be that way. The system's been in place, and we might have different looks because of our personnel. He didn't tell you anything about the offensive line. He told you what he wanted you to know, which is great. Just go up there and talk. Tell me what you want me to know. And it's interesting because there's parts of this defense that you love. And you don't even have Whit Weeks out there right now. But I can look and go, man, you prioritized getting Pickett and Woodland back, your 2 starting corners, and you got them both. Awesome. Tamarcus Cooley played a ton for you last year. He's back. Great. Deshaun Spears, a former 5-star who's played a lot as a freshman, more last year as a sophomore. Now looks like he's going to be your starting star linebacker. Great. Whit Weeks is back, not even going through spring. But I also look and go, man, all of your defensive ends are gone. The only interior defensive lineman that played significant snaps for you that's back is Don McKinley. And I think there's a lot of questions around him. You have real questions about your depth at linebacker, your depth at corner after the first 2 guys I just mentioned. I'm over the moon excited about Ty Benefield next to Tamarcus Cooley. But what about depth at safety? There's a lot of questions over there. But he's right in that Blake Baker's still in place. It's the same defense, schematically. All the same coaches, except you've added Chris Kiffin. And Kyle Williams is out, but and you shifted with Sterling Lucas coming in, and Kevin Peoples is kicked down to coach the interior defensive line. But again, same verbiage, by and large, same coaches. A lot of same there, a lot of consistency there where everything is new on the offensive side. And is interesting because I asked Lane Kiffin about Baker and Chris Kiffin and their roles, because on Tuesday at practice, in the 4 individual periods we saw, Blake Baker worked with 4 different groups of people. At first, the first 5-minute period, he was just with P.J. Woodland and Aiden Anding, nickelbacks. 2 people. Blake Baker, your defensive coordinator, spent an entire period working with 2 people. And then he worked with the safeties for a period. And then he went and worked with Deshaun Spears, Aiden Hall, and C.J. Jim Coyley, star linebackers. And then he worked with the entire secondary in sort of a shell secondary period. 4 periods, 4 different groups of people he worked with. I asked Lane Kiffin why.
Chris coaches the linebackers, and so I like that allows Blake to move around and coach everybody. So I think that's gone really well. Because of the tempo, I think scrimmages are really even more valuable. You know, coaches' communications, and we have guys up in the press box and on Saturdays because of that, to work on that, because I think that's a big part of where college football has gone too, because of iPads, because of communication to a defensive player and an offensive player. We practice that a lot and work on that a lot. So Blake's communication with the staff and with the player that we select is really critical, I believe, on game day, and some things that some people put a lot of value to and some don't.
So Blake Baker is spending time with all of the different position groups, because on game day, depending on who they identify as the green dot, the one that he's going to communicate with during the game, they want him to be able to communicate with that player. So they're working with him with all these position groups throughout the entire practice, instead of in past where he's just working with the linebackers. Now he's working with everybody. I don't know if that's good, bad, right. I have no idea. We'll see. They'll play games and we'll make a decision. Well, that may be stupid. Maybe it's brilliant. I don't know. But there's intentionality behind it, why they're doing it the way they are. I've never seen that, where one coach is working with 4 different groups of players in 4 different periods. Like, I haven't seen that. Not to say nobody else does it, but I haven't seen it. Been covering this college football team for a long time with a lot of different coaches, head coaches, coordinators, assistants, all of it. But this much I know. Go back to where Lane Kiffin said it'll be a defensive team. I don't know if they will or won't. I'm sure he would rather than be an offensive team. He's an offensive-minded coach. And I think the offense come the opener against Clemson is going to be light years better than they are now, and they'll have their starting quarterback, which certainly matters. But here's what I also know. If you look at the 2025 college football season, and you go look at the defensive rankings, right? Total defense. Number 1 in the country was Ohio State, 219 yards a game. Ohio State was a college football playoff team this year. Texas Tech, college football playoff team, they were number 3. Indiana won the national championship. They were number 4. This is total defense rankings, by the way. James Madison made the playoff. They were number 5. Oklahoma, playoff team, stunk on offense. Playoff team, they were number 6 in the country in total defense. Oregon made the playoff. They were number 7. Miami of Florida played for the national championship. They were 12th in total defense. One spot behind them was Alabama, who was 13th. Georgia was next, 14th. They made the playoff. Texas A&M, they made the playoff. They were 18th. 10 of the 12 teams that made the college football playoff were in the top 18 nationally in total defense. Let me say that again slowly. 10 of the 12 teams that made the college football playoff in 2025 were in the top 18 nationally in total defense. The 2 outliers were Ole Miss, who were 48th, and Tulane, which was 80th. And if we're being honest, respect to the wave and all that stuff, they're not one of the 12 best teams in the country. Nobody thinks they actually deserve to be in the playoff. But the system is what it is. All that said, you need to be top 20 in the defense. You need to be top 20 in the country in defense to be a playoff team. One that has a legitimate shot of winning the national championship. Unless if there's an outlier like Ole Miss, but still they were 48th. So yes, when you look at what LSU defensively has become, the year before Blake Baker showed up, LSU was 108th nationally in total defense. Blake Baker's first year in 2024, they were 61st. They went from 108 to 61, and then last year they were 27th. 108, 61, 27. Consistency, improvement. How much more can you improve another year under Blake Baker? About to find out. But Lane Kiffin saying we're a defensive team, I believe him because they should be. Because they've been getting better there. They've been consistent there. You've retained coaches and players there. You've supplemented there with the portal. And on the offensive side, you're trying to do something completely complex and brand new with staff, players. You don't even have your starting quarterback. If your defense wasn't whipping your offense right now, I'd be concerned. The real question is, how much better can the offense get between now and when you open up against Clemson? And we're not going to have that answer until then, certainly not until you get your quarterback back. All right, it's after further review. Tuesday show is powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I got a quick break. New NFL head coaching rankings are out. Where does Kellen Moore fall?
Kellen Moore.
It's AFR.
AFR.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions, Glow Resources and glowresources.com. If you need to hire, you need Glow Resources. Best way I can say it. If you're the person in your business that's responsible for hiring, you need Glow Resources. If you're having trouble finding the person in your business that stays, that makes your business productive and efficient and more profitable, you need Glow Resources. You see, Glow Resources does about 50 interviews per day on average. That means over the course of the year, they conduct some 15,000 interviews. I don't care how many people you interview for your job, your position, your business. You're not interviewing 15,000 people. That's why this is what Glow Resources does. They know the right questions to ask to find the right people to eliminate barriers and potential issues down the line, to find the right people to make your business the most efficient and profitable it can be. You need to hire, you need Glow Resources. GLO, glowresources.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
The Dreams Come True Radiothon, presented by the Baton Rouge Clinic, starts April 20th. Your donations help grant dreams for Louisiana children battling life-threatening illnesses. At $1,000, our purple sponsors match the donations, and at $2,000, our gold sponsors match as well. Thanks to First American Bank, Boudreaux's Electrical, along with Chad's Collision, Subaru of Baton Rouge, Lewis Mechanical, Patient Plus, and River Parish Contractors for making it all happen.
Great organization, man. Miss Becky and the squad, they do awesome stuff. If you're not familiar at all with Dreams Come True Louisiana, they're basically, I don't mean to say it this way, but they're like a local version of Make-A-Wish, right? But they just help Louisiana kids facing life-threatening or terminal illnesses have their dream come true. If it's Disney or a trip, a vacation, a sports dream, something like that. We've been partnered with them for decade, probably longer than that even, and to get to meet a lot of their dream children and to meet the families is just an awesome thing. You want to talk about having a higher purpose and doing a greater good, and especially when you're talking about kids, just the best, man. So we're excited to have the Dreams Come True Radiothon back, and not a traditional radiothon like we used to do. The world's changed so much. So it'll all be online like it's been for several years. But we'll tell you more as we get closer to and through the Dreams Come True Radiothon. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. This was something that when Dennis Allen was the Saints coach, we would often do. And whenever Derek Carr was the quarterback, we would do. And not that it's anything that I think you need to marry yourself to as like, this is definitively how things are and this is the answer. It's just something to consider. We always talk about lists. We do the feigned indignance. Do you have feigned indignance on a bar? It's okay if not.
I thought I did. Hold on.
Okay, we're holding.
So I know I have it right here in my folder.
Okay, hang on. Muse has it in his folder. Paul, how are you doing today? Just going to wait. Yeah, it's all good.
And now it's time for Feigned Indignance from Sports Talk Radio Guy over random summertime sports lists.
That's a stupid bit we do to make fun of people who do lists. So all that to say, I don't care about a list. I'm not marrying myself to a list. One of the things we talked about was like when Derek Carr was always showing up on these lists as a 20-somethings grade quarterback in the NFL, be it objective or subjective metrics. It just kept telling you the story. We did the same thing with Dennis Allen when we were looking at either things like coaching's winning percentages or losing percentages and things that kept illustrating that Dennis Allen's a bad head coach. Just something to consider. So we'll do the same thing with Ellen here.
Kellen Moore.
As he continues to make his way. Patrick Daugherty at PFF, at Pro Football Talk, PFT, Pro Football Talk, ranked NFL head coaches, and he's got Sean McVay number one. By the way, this is about, it's not where they've been or a projection. It's just how do you see things now? Sean McVay number one, Andy Reid 2, Kyle Shanahan 3, Mike McDonald 4, Sean Payton 5. How about that? Jim Harbaugh is 6, Vrabel, Dan Campbell, Sirianni 9, Matt LaFleur at the Packers 10. You keep scrolling, and there's some things that are a little concerning because you see like Ben Johnson at 13 one year, Liam Cohen with the Jags 1 year, he's at 14, but then he made the playoffs. Shane Steichen at 15, Todd Bowles at 16, Zach Taylor 17. He's been to a Super Bowl. And then there you see our good friend Ellen
Moore.
18 on the list. Now, it's worth mentioning he only ranks current coaches and does not include first-year head coaches. The first-year head coaches are in a list all themselves after the ranking. But Kellen Moore is 36 years old, and he's been an NFL play caller for 6 years. And I think after one season in the NFL as a head coach and ranking Kellen Moore 18th actually is a pretty respectable spot, especially when you consider the other first-year coaches that rank ahead of him. Like you look at Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen inherited a situation in Jacksonville where he has his franchise quarterback. I mean, sunshine has been in place there. You look at Ben Johnson, who's at 13. Again, they had the number 1 overall pick in the draft, who was in his second year last year. So naturally, those two guys were in situations that were better than the one that Kellen Moore inherited. I think that's objectively true. So while it may not be anywhere like super complimentary, they still have more ahead of Dave Canales with the Panthers. They won the division this year, by the way. Dan Quinn, who was a 28-3 blown lead away from being a Super Bowl winner. Brian Schottenheimer at 21. A fellow first-year head coach in Aaron Glenn at 22, who's the one that the Saints wanted to hire. And then all the new hires. Joe Brady, Jeff Hafley, John Harbaugh with the Giants, Clint Kubiak with the Raiders, Mike LaFleur with the Cardinals, Mike McCarthy with the Steelers, Jesse Minter with the Ravens, Todd Monken getting his first crack with the Browns, Robert Saleh, who's the head coach again now with the Titans, and then Stefanski with the Falcons. So I kind of wish that they had ranked them, including the first-year head coach at the new spots, because a lot of those are guys who have been head coaches before. But even still, to have Kellen Moore kind of smack dab in the middle of the league, I think shows an awful lot of respect for the job that he did. To go 6-11 in a year where you're very much in a teardown rebuild and had a rookie quarterback start the second half of the season, and maybe the projection, the optimistic projection, is pretty good. So again, I'm not drawing any wide-ranging conclusions to this. Like I said, just something to consider. And as this offseason goes along, we'll see more lists like this. And it'll be an interesting exercise to gather what the opinion around the NFL is of Kellen Moore, the job he did in his first season. But the first one of these that I've seen has Kellen Moore planted as the 18th best head coach in the NFL, which not a terrible spot to be in. Again, ahead of a guy like Dan Quinn, who's was 28-3 away from winning a Super Bowl. All right, it's After Further Review, brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. Call 924-2020, 924-2020. You want to see 2020? Call 924-2020 for the Williamson Eye Center. Dr. Blake Williamson and his staff, they're awesome. I speak from experience. I, for years, was told I wasn't a great candidate for LASIK, and quite honestly, I was scared of the laser. And I went and met with Dr. Blake Williamson, and he assured me LASIK is the safest elective procedure in the history of mankind. And his ability, I love the way that throughout the procedure, he calls it his vocal local, like local anesthetic or local anesthesia. The way he talks to you throughout the procedure puts you so much at ease, even beforehand. Just experience it. If you have any trepidation, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But most importantly, it's a way that you can change your life forever. To wake up in the morning and just be able to see. 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. All right, y'all, cruising along. Glad you're hanging out. Usually do Tigers and the Pros when we come back. We'll get back to some more of what Lane Kiffin had to say when he met with reporters earlier today, including a couple of freshmen that he was really hyping up. Tigers are back on the diamond tonight as they welcome in Bethune-Cookman. Good opportunity. Get some more Tigers out there and maybe cure some of those midweek woes that have ailed LSU in a lot of these midweek outings this year. We'll see how they do. All right, we'll wrap up hour number 2 with Tigers and the Pros next on AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by the Watermark Inn, the Renaissance Watermark downtown, Renaissance Southtown, Renaissance Baton Rouge right there on Bluebonnet near I-10, across from the Mall of Louisiana and Perkins Road, kind of between them. If you're driving down Bluebonnet, you can't miss Renaissance Baton Rouge. And it is a gorgeous, sprawling hotel with all the modern amenities for whatever their guests may be. And maybe more importantly, if you're thinking of hosting an event, it's a perfect spot. It's conveniently located. I mean, you know as well as I do, every bit of directions in Baton Rouge start with get on I-10. Well, great. I-10 Bluebonnet, Renaissance is right there. Convenient access to I-10 so you can get anywhere in town. Convenient for your guests coming in from out of town, and the space at Renaissance Baton Rouge is sprawling, and it's malleable to be whatever you need it to be. Allison Crump's the events coordinator, so if you're thinking of having an event, a fundraiser, an awards banquet, a dance, a wedding reception, a board meeting, call Allison Crump today and get your event scheduled at Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
She likes the way it's pulling while we're tilling up the land. She's even kind of crazy about my phone.
Wrapping up hour number dose. Glad you're bored with us here. A lot to do. Buso, Tigers and the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, you may recall early last season, Malik Neighbors tore his ACL. Missed the rest of the year.
Yeah.
John Harbaugh provided an update here on Tuesday. Said that Neighbors will not be on the field until, quote, into training camp. Added closer to the season as well. No further update given on recovery, how that's going. Just Neighbors will not be on the field until into training camp, so maybe not even there on the first day. Obviously, wish him a healthy recovery here, and hopefully he can get back out there and dominate defenses. Grant Taylor served as an opener yesterday for the Chicago White Sox. Yeah, threw one inning. Gave up a hit, didn't walk anybody, punched out a guy, just 16 pitches, and they got him out of there. Unfortunately, the White Sox didn't win. I say unfortunately because we had them in auto locks yesterday. There,
although we did good in our
although it
that
was good,
the
man.
only loss.
That was the only loss.
2-1, right?
2-1. Yes, indeed, 2-1. The backdoor cover, I will call it a backdoor cover for UConn last night. 6.5 fell 6. That was great. But Grant Taylor, opener. Grant Taylor, how about that? He was good. Maybe they should have left him in there a little.
Backdoor cover.
I mean, they were down like 11, right?
I think the backdoor cover is like a cheap cover at the end. We'll ask Otter for an official ruling. But I don't think that was a backdoor cover. I mean,
kind of cheap.
They had an opportunity with 90 seconds left to get it to 4.
Yeah.
They hit a 3, got a steal, had a layup, they missed. I wouldn't call it backdoor.
Fortunate cover from UConn last night. How about that? Huh? Paul Skeens is back on the mound today. He'll face San Diego Padres. For Skeens, 1-1 with a 9.5 ERA. He's punched out 6 so far in 5 2/3. And then Kevin Gausman, who's just been fantastic. He toes the rubber for the Blue Jays. No decisions, but a 0.75 ERA. No walks, 21 punch outs so far in 2 starts. That's Tigers and the Pros.
We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, arco.com, 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 ARCCO, arco.com. Industrial Generac generator power. Call Arco. Everything is turnkey. They can sell, service, install, rent that Generac industrial standby generator. These are critical backup energy solutions for the industrial sector, for your commercial building. So it's not your home. Like storm comes and your standby generator kicks on. That's awesome. Have one at my house. It's amazing. Would never live anywhere again without one. This is for your business. Power goes out. How does that affect your business? Well, if you have a generator for your business, you don't have to worry about it. That's Arco. And they service so much of our greater area. Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, Arkansas. Check them out. Arco.com, arco.com, arco.com. Hour 3 after SportsCenter.
AFR.
All right, y'all. We are going to get SportsCenter here in just a minute. Love telling you about Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service. And I do love telling you about Shaw Bills because I love telling you about great businesses that have been around forever. And you go to the website shawbillstire.com. You scroll down. You'll see the customer bill of rights. It's something Mr. Charlie started more than 60 years ago when they opened up 1968, almost 60 years ago, when they opened up the business. Basically, things that they believe you as a customer are entitled to when you shop at Shaw Bills. Because they want you to come in and feel like you are respected and appreciated. Novel concept in the year of our Lord 2026. But at Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service, they're going to sell you name brand tires at wholesale prices. But they're going to treat you so well that you're going to go back for everything you need for your vehicle forever. So log on to schedule service today or to shop tires at shawbillstire.com, shawbillstire.com. Shaw Bills, we keep you rolling.